there's another big subject I'd like to bring up, if that's okay. It's a bit of a divergence, but I believe this kind of ties into what we're talking about. I believe there is what I call a secret world economy, or you could say it's the black money market. And I don't mean black money as in crime or not gangsters or mafia, but it's what I believe is that they are creating the illusion of scarcity at every level. Now, some of this is from people I've known, particularly from Asia, and I'll get to this in a minute. It ties into what's the latest news that's coming through Asia, which kind of confirms a lot of this. But what we're talking about here is banking crimes, which this ties into this affects everybody. Okay, this is our monetary system. You've got the likes of the Vatican, which is a whole. I don't know if you've ever researched that, but that's a huge minefield. The Vatican Bank have their own massive bank. You've got the Federal Reserve in the U.S., which was set up in 1913. I think you're looking at a money laundering situation there. That's not. The funny thing is they call it the Federal Reserve, and that's a privately owned bank.
Yes, it is.
I would implore anyone to look up. There's a video on YouTube that's a recording in a U.S. federal court, and I believe it's from memory. I think it's Senator Gray. Is the guy there called Senator Grayson? I think he's a Republican from Florida. He interviews the auditor of the Federal Reserve. So if people type in something like $9 trillion missing from the Federal Reserve, and if you watch that video, the auditor doesn't have a clue where this money's gone. Now, and he points out there that would be $30,000 per person. Yep. Now, there's all sorts of, and funny thing is, I'm not saying this is the reason why necessarily. JFK was talking about all sorts of things. He said he would splinter the CIA into 1,000 pieces, which can't have been good for us. He probably he was probably in trouble right there, but he also was creating. These are still in circulation. You'll see them occasionally. If you look carefully at your cash, occasionally you'll see this something called a United States note, which is what JFK created just before he died. And that was in opposition to the Federal Reserve notes, which is 99.99% of your cash currency will be Federal Reserve notes. But he was looking to take the Federal Reserve notes out of the equation. And that goes back to what I was saying, that the Federal Reserve, you're entering into the central banking system, which is what they've done all over Europe, and you're talking the global elite have infiltrated the US, I believe, and they set it up. There's a book called The Creature from Jekyll Island, and they set up. I can't remember where Jekyll Island is. I think it's off.
It's off like
Georgia. No.
Georgia. Yeah, Georgia. It's off Georgia.
Yeah. So the Creature from Jekyll Island is all these elitist bankers from all over the world had a meeting, and they decided. And by the way, various founding fathers had rejected and blocked a central bank from being set up since the early 1800s, and major founding fathers they believed that the central banking is wrong, and what they did is they actually pushed it through Congress very close to New Year's Eve, I believe it was, when 90% of the senators had actually already gone to holidays, and they've slipped it through, and they got a vote. They got like one person. It was like 51 to 49%, something like that, and they passed it. And so you're stuck now with the Federal Reserve, and there's nothing federal about it. It's owned by private bankers.
Yeah, we got to go to a break here, James.
Yeah, sorry.
In a minute. But let's stay on this because I got something to add after the break. But again, we're down the rabbit hole, folks. Stuff that you probably haven't really thought about in your life, but it's affecting you all over the world, from United States to Sydney and Australia to South Africa, Asia. So we'll be right back. This is Dwight Willey with the Dwight Willey Show, and my guest, James Morcan. Right after this.